b4, we get bishop to b2, and here we go with e4. So we do see a different move here. Now, against e4, I'm kind of curious. First of all, it's important to remember that this is not really a threat. So I'm just going to play this move to start off. Still, the relationship between the bishop and the pawn would indicate that it's not really a threat. However, it becomes increasingly tempting to play a move like d3, and then you drop this pawn with a check. So I will say you do want to be a little bit careful in a position like this. We can't always sit here and wait for the guy to go knight c6. So I will play a move like b5, and I think our next move, possibly c4. Undermine that center. Okay, let's go with the bishop. You can go ahead and take. Always thinking, are there moves to play there? But I think this one is pretty good. Now, I kind of like leaving this open, but I think it's very clear that this will be the next move of the game here. Let's go ahead and develop. This knight will probably target the e-pawn if I had to guess. Ooh, queen b6. Potential for something bad to happen here to black. Knight d5, a very common one, heading to c7. Rook b1 would also be a reasonable move here. After knight d5, queen c5. I think we can play queen b3 without too many problems, so I'm going to go ahead with this move. Looks like it's worth a try for sure. Pawn was loose, but not with bishop hanging. Otherwise, I would say rook b1 would be the standard reaction there. And yeah, let's support these. And now I think rook c1 is a huge threat, even if a6 gets played. Like this. Don't forget, knight c7 is a hurtful move here. Okay, so dodging some of our, really nasty ideas, but yet we're still hitting our opponent with a lot of early tactics here. And after king d8, although we can take this rook in the corner, queen takes f7, threatening checkmate in 1 is a move that I think I want to throw in. So we're going to go ahead and do it. Knight f6, perhaps to stop mate in 1. There's also knight e6. So we might see queen takes c7, but remember, queen takes f7 also supports bishop takes g7 on the next move. So many good things for us here. And unfortunately, this does not stop the checkmate. And that will be a nice, quick victory. Once again with b4. Even though our opponent kept things pretty safe, the bishop was tied down to f8. It could not move. And it's all about undermining. It's pretty rare, as you've noticed, for me to play knight c3 unless it's guaranteed there's no action on this diagonal. So of course we want to play this, but later, and usually not in front of our pawn. We'll absolutely be playing c4 and knight c3. And then this knight, for the most part, develops to f3. But okay, if there's a pawn here, we either need to evict or we need to play knight e2 and pick a different square. And this bishop goes wherever the wind blows. Bishop e2, bishop d3, c4, b5. There's really no way you could possibly say there's one square that bishop ends up on. All right, b4 and bishop b2. A familiar sight. Queen f6, something we've seen before. Attacking the pawn. Easy to forget that it's pinned to the queen. And here we go, bishop takes on b4. But again, we're always happy to trade black's center pawn for perhaps our own b4 pawn, right? We'll do that trade every time. There's no problems with that. Now, the reality is we should probably take this. Don't really see any problem with it. It is just a free pawn. d6 can be tried. Don't think it's effective. So let's just do that and bring our bishop out. And I think now some dark square pawns would be nice. E3 helps us develop. C3 might gain a tempo. And again, without our bishop on B2 anymore, we don't really need that diagonal open. Knight C3 and Knight D5. I'm a fan. I'm expecting that this is the move, but Knight D5 works really well there. Because we're ready to take back on A1 with our queen. Meanwhile, Knight C7 is a pretty nasty threat for black to deal with here. Bishop D8. I have to say, a very good move from our opponent to realize that this was the wrong idea and backtrack and defend. That's a good sign. Let's go E3. Knight E7. Play this. We could play this. What do we want to do? I think just C4. Or we could keep the pieces on the board, which is always interesting. Let me take a tempo first. Who am I kidding? Let me take a tempo. Because you know what? If he goes here, maybe we'll take another tempo. All the pieces getting developed pretty quickly here. You can see black's development is not ideal. Yeah, I think I will keep the pieces on the board, hit the queen. A lot of mistakes you can make here. Queen G4 loses the queen. As far as I can see, that queen would be trapped. And then there's a lot of squares you can go wrong on here. But these ones are safe, way on the other side of the board. Queen H6 is a safe one as well, and he does find a good one. Let's get castle, safety. Oh, is that a mouse slip? It's a very unfortunate mouse slip if so. Let's head to the open file. Half open, but you know, for us, we have every single pawn except one. I'm looking at this. Queen B2. If I can't have a bishop on this diagonal, gosh darn it, I'm gonna have something. And here I like bishop H4. We make a threat, but actually the threat here is bishop G5, which is going to win the queen. And you can't really play G5, although I think he will, because a bishop takes G5. So kind of a triple threat when you think about it. Shout out Omid. Takes here. So if we take here, there's king G8. But if we take here, we just win the material. So I think we should do this. Long range, that queen. Queen from B2, calling all the shots. Doing everything here. And that's going to be a big victory. B4, knight F3, take on E5. I mean, already the position is really nice. Black's queen is being chased around. You're never getting mated on F2, and that's why people play this, right? These are the scholar's mate warriors. Not happening. Ooh, B4, C5. Okay, so we're going to profit off of a quick pre-move. It's an interesting pre-move. The funny thing about C5 is it's a decent pre-move against every opening except B4. Even against D4, it's a decent opening. The only move it's really bad against is our move. Our move is the best possible way against people that pre-move C5. Okay, you see we're kind of getting developed in a similar way. C4 and knight C3. And I'm leaving this bishop open as long as possible, just in case bishop E7 happens. I want to be ready. And here, actually, I think I will take the opportunity to take on f6 and hand over those doubled, really nasty pawns. Castle's just going to walk right into knight b6. We're threatening knight b6 anyway. Give me that king. This is a pretty quick victory already. Rook to b1, queen f6. I guess rook b1 first. Line up here, almost expecting and encouraging the move, knight e5. Let's bring the bishop here. I'm sure that knight e5 is going to become interesting for him. Let's get castled. Again, knight e5 would be very helpful. Yeah. It was, for me, a matter of time before knight e5 happened. Just had to give him the space to find it. And there we go. And there we go. b4 again, quite effective here. c5 is just a terrible pre-move to start the game, only against our opening. There you go. All right, here's b4. We got bishop b2 coming up. We're hitting the pawn, and here we go. There's d6, one of the most solid reactions, and defends the pawn basically forever. Like, there's no way we're doing anything tricky here. Okay, knight c6, we're always happy to play this move. In this case, I would say knight e7 makes sense, but still, players are blundering their knight, right? It never gets old. 5 moves into the game. Knight c6, knight b4, thanks very much. I mean, just same old, same old. There's no e4 here. That's covered. Of course, we need to watch out for that idea, but it is covered. Okay, I think I am going to take this, and it's quite possible that our backwards bishop plays a role here. But we're going to do this. Queen h4, we're playing g3, and the bishops, right, the diagonals are really hurting here. And when I say the diagonals are hurting, I'd like it to be the case that we win the queen, but there is queen takes c4. So, can I start with this? No, the answer is actually no, because if the pawn moves, the queen can still retreat back there. Maybe queen e2. Bishop d4 traps the queen, so I can't help but want to explore that. Although he does play d5. Whether he meant to or not, it's a pretty decent move. This is defended. We can castle. And that will be every single piece falling. And another very quick checkmate. GG yet again. How many times have we just straight up won a piece in the opening? Black always develops knight c6. We always play b5. They always play knight b4. And we always win a damn piece. It's so simple. b4. Bishop b2. We've seen this before. Queen g5. Well, I think you can imagine queen g5 is not going to be too dangerous of a move for us. Knight f3 comes with tempo. e5 pawn is hit. We are going to win a pawn here, it would seem. Queen h6. Now, we always want to make this exchange. If it comes between winning this pawn and losing that one, it's always a yes. I think once again, we can take and perhaps take here. Okay, he's not going to do it, which means let's just bring the bishop back. Bishop e6. Let's say e3 makes sense. We want to play c4 and knight c3 yet again. Never knight c3 in front of the pawn for the most part. And yeah, there's no real tactics here, so I think we are fine to Bring this knight out now. Still knight c6, b5. We'll still win the material there. d4 is also a great move. For now, I'm just going to leave it, but knight e5 would definitely make sense for black. We're always keeping this idea in mind of like when the knight moves, then there would follow b5. I think we're going to defend this. I'd actually really like to play d4, but this pawn on c4 would hang. And I'm not terribly interested in opening the d file for my opponent here. Not looking to help out. Maybe this is the idea, but don't believe that it can be played right away. So let's castle. This will drop a knight currently. Well, like I said, it will drop a knight. Have to be careful after pawn takes. There's a pin, which means I think we'll play d4. This c-pawn is being attacked. Bishop d6. There's always stuff to watch out for. And bishop d6. h2 would be a target. Let's capture. And I think bishop takes on c4 now will be a pretty nice move. Queen f3 next. And again, you just see the early queen moves are no good against this b4 bishop b2 setup. What do we want to do here? Queen f3 anyway. I think we're going to bring the knight back. We have queen b3, queen f3, knight f4. c6 is really the only way to keep the knight there. Knight b6 is a decent move as well, but it doesn't keep the knight on the great square that it's on. Let's head to perhaps the open file. Looks like we can take here and then keep applying the pressure. e4 gets rid of the knight. We can always make an escape square here. Rook to d1. And there we go. We are going to get a win. Thank you. We won with a nice tactic, says chess.com. I tend to agree. I mean, I guess this is the tactic. Nothing special, but queen f6, queen g5, none of these moves are effective against b4, bishop b2, because we're placing our bishop immediately, not just against the queen, but hitting the pawn in the center. So you really can't be doing stuff like this. Now, of course, it's very tempting to play e5 because, well, you're hitting the pawn on move number 1. But this is a trade we're happy with. And finally, we see the actual sequence, but it's followed straight away by a blunder. Very common, and I'm sure will happen in so many of your games. We take here, and then we go all the way. Queen g5. Is there a threat here? No. Let's take. Knight f3 with tempo next. Black is maybe desperate to set up checkmate here, but that's just not a reality. Now it's time to save this bishop. I think I'll just come all the way back here. Bishop c5, we can go d4. So I'm not too concerned about that. And let's get some pieces out with tempo. I know that I'm not bothered by bishop takes because, well, I'm up a whole rook that I just won in the corner. So any trade will be good for me. Bishop b6 is forced, but I was about to say, based on the time that my opponent's spending here, it doesn't look like it's going to happen. And that's another victory. Just everything hanging. It's time for b4. Oh, and here we go. We always want to take the center pawn. Oh, I was going to say in exchange for the b pawn, but we're not even losing the b pawn apparently. Remember, knight here, we have c4 to trap that knight on that square. So actually, legitimately, knight back to b8 is probably a smarter move. Let's take that. To be honest, I think it's perfectly fine to capture there, but I'll support this bishop with the pawn. We'll play c4. We almost always do. e5 is quite the move. And remember, we have c4, we have knight c3, we have lots of ways to support that bishop. I'm not really concerned about, for example, those two bishops on the b file. But yeah, rarely would we play knight c3 without the pawn in front. Here, I mean, this is a set of doubled pawns there, which doubled and isolated, so very tempting. And I think I will play c4 followed by knight c3 and knight into d5. Yeah, we can do this, but I actually think it's more important to take. That way the king will have to move, gain a tempo on the queen. Knight d4. Now queen trade here, based on the position, I'm up material, but I'm only up a couple pawns here. And visually with the king out like that, this is one of those times where you just have to keep the queens on the board, because how does black defend? Like, this position looks lost. The king moves up here, gonna lose the queen, and queen a7 looks absolutely devastating here. I mean, queen here would probably lead to mate, but it feels like this is somehow more devastating. Yeah, let's go ahead and just take the material. And now, even though we will lose a piece here, I definitely think, we can play this. Yeah, I was gonna say, it just opens the game up for checkmate to follow. Jack. Give another check. And a relatively satisfying checkmate here with the two knights participating. GG. Can you imagine that started with b4, bishop b2? Just the pressure on e5. Like, move 2, I'm already up a pawn. Move 3, I'm taking it. And black doesn't even the stakes. Now, the development patterns you're kind of seeing, c4, knight c3, that's sort of how it goes. Maybe later on d4. So you kind of know what we're up to. Thank you guys so much for making it to the end of another episode of the 1b4 speedrun. I hope you found this as tricky and successful as I did in the series. And remember to subscribe to the chessbrah YouTube channel if you're not already, and turn on post notifications so you don't miss when we drop our next upload.